scrappy people, it's Traci here today, coming at you with a flip through of my Journey Home 6x8 album that I've been creating over the last few weeks on my YouTube channel. This is a travel album, and if you are interested in the process videos, and there's one for every single page in here, you can check out the playlist that this is on called the Journey Home album. And this is going to be a flip through of all of the hard work that I put into this album. So this is the intro page, which is a photo of our early morning flight, the sun rising out of the plane window. And then I added big gold letters and this journey from Ali Edwards on top of a transparency because I thought it would sit better. Then I ended up stapling the transparency to the photo so that they would not move independently of each other. The first spread is, of course, traveling, and I have some photos of, this is Patrick and I in Dallas, and I used our boarding passes to collage in the background here, and you know, added in some funny photos. I really loved this picture of Patrick, so I included it very large, and I used this ephemera to cover up a lady in the background and put our schedule of the crazy day on. Then this was a series of photos that Patrick was messing up our selfies, which ended up being a better story than if he had just smiled. So I had to document that, and I used regular pockets for this one. I did not use a lot of pockets in this 6x8 album, as you will see, which is kind of cool. A lot of stuff on the outside of everything. This is a spread of my sister and me. The first thing I did when I got into California was make my sister go to the gym with me, you know, after a all morning flight. And so this was a photo that we took, and then afterwards we went and got pedicures for the wedding, and I actually forgot to get a photo of our pedicure. We got matching pedicure, and I forgot to get a photo, so this is actually from the wedding, and I just put it in here out of order just because it goes with this story and not the wedding story. Then in here is another photo of Roanna and I. What the heck, man? Apparently it's stuck. There we go. Another photo of Roanna and I. We took a lot of selfies on day one. Then you flip this over, and it's a story of all the food we ate while we were in California. Some journaling in here with some pig out stuff. This is all Coco Daisy from, I think, August. Their farmer's market collection. Sushi, Dutch Brothers. We ate like piggies because we ate a lot of things that we don't get to have in Tennessee. This is a 3x8 page protector that I included in here from a Ali Edwards 3x8 album. I liked varying the size of the page protectors I was using. Adalberto's, which is our favorite Mexican food. Definitely had that while we were there. Here's a little story of me going wedding dress shopping, or a dress for the wedding, not wedding dress shopping, because my silk dress got all wrinkly, unfortunately. And I created this vellum shaker pocket that has a bunch of sequins in it, and I just ran it through my sewing machine, dumped in some sequins, and then closed it up. On the other side is a photo of my bestie who came to have lunch with me while I was shopping. Actually, I forced her into having lunch with me while I was shopping. Here is the invitation to the rehearsal dinner that I'm using as sort of a divider. Then I love this floating layout effect that I created using a transparency. And then I created a photo embellishment cluster down here. This is my brother and I at his rehearsal dinner. The other side is me and Patrick in the car going to the wedding. And this is a little story about my sister doing my eyelashes. She's a professional lash extension artist, and so I hand cut these cute little lashes and added this love with all your heart, which really doesn't have anything to do with this, but has everything to do with the fact that you can see my brother and his wife through that, and it kind of frames them. And this is the save the date for their wedding. So I made sure to save all of the ephemera for their wedding so that I could incorporate it into this album. Here is a photo of my siblings and I at the wedding. This is seriously the most fun part of this album because it opens up and it is a folder of photos. You can see that I have another little layout in here. These are all the photos, the group photos of the wedding. So this is my siblings and my dad and stepmom. And then we had a selfie while we were waiting for the wedding to start. Then this is just the boys. And then on the other side, I have a journaling card, kind of a little ode to Patrick and I, since we were, you know, weddings always bring up feelings of your own marriage. And then this photo of us toasting, which is one of my favorite photos, so I made it very large. And then replicated the toasting with my embellishment choice down here. Super fun. I love that part of the album. Next, I created a collage, sort of like an old school type scrapbook collage of, these are our placeholders for the tables at the wedding. Got a little sticker there. Plus this was their centerpiece, and then I had a bunch of silly selfies that we took. So I just created a photo strip out of them and created it sort of old school scrapbooky style because for their wedding, for their guest book, they had an Instax camera and an old school scrapbook where you were supposed to leave advice to the newly married couple. So it kind of inspired this feel. Then I printed this out as a 3x8 or 4x8, I think, because I really like this photo as well. So I wanted it large, and I thought it paired well with this one since they were taken at the same time. This photo is one I shot of my brother and his wife and their first look. This was before they got married, so it's before the wedding photos, which I didn't actually take any photos of their wedding because they had a technology-free wedding, which is always very smart. So I'm glad I got this one. It's beautiful. It was a beautiful setting. They read their vows to each other. It was really fun. Then I loved this picture of my dad and the bride, so I scrapbooked it on her. This is an invitation to her bridal shower that I didn't get to go to since I was out of state. So I used it as a backing for this photo instead, which I really like. I really love this. Invitation is really beautiful. And then here's the actual invitation to their wedding, which I felt like needed a little more oomph than it was granted in the album. So I added some lace to it. I actually did it on this side and added some photos I snapped of them. This is after the wedding. This is right before the wedding when they were getting their professional photos done. So this was the invitation. So I just added to it. And then some photos of them. This is their first dance. And then some dark selfies. This is my brother and my husband dancing, and my dad, my sister, and I. Then I got the thank you card. So I just stuck that right in here, and it's sticking out so you can see them. And then we have some selfies from the wedding. Some more selfies from the wedding, stuck in pockets, just fun ones. They had sort of a Game of Thrones themed wedding. So they had a few, it wasn't overkill, but they had a few things like on the bar. They had a sign that said, I drink and I know things. And the placeholders were all, or the tables were all named after lands in Game of Thrones. So we were at the Bravos table, all that kind of stuff. Then we move on from the wedding and we went out with friends the night after the wedding. And so I have some photos with our friends. And then I also have, we stayed at the hotel where we went dancing. And so I have some documentation of that. This was the only photo I took of the entire hotel experience, which is a real bummer. But I really wanted to extend the story and make sure it had an impact in the album. So I added it as a little booklet all by itself in the middle of this spread. And then I used the key card holder to store the journaling. And this is a little voucher from gambling, which we don't gamble much, but we dropped a 20 in. And then I repeated that whole floating layout thing again with this one, and it's on another transparency, so it's just kind of floating there because it was too small to actually put in the rings. The other side of the friends layout, which is, it's really fun because I've known my bestie since middle school, and Patrick has known his bestie since middle school, so it was really fun that those were who we went out with when we were home. Next, we have a little story of my dad had a barbecue 2 days after the wedding for people, his friends basically, who couldn't come to the wedding. So I had commissioned my bestie to make some shirts for us. I designed these shirts and they say favorite daughter, and we were all wearing them. And my bestie made them for me. So I have a photo of all of us in these shirts, and then a photo with my dad, who got a really big kick out of them. These are photos of Patrick and me in front of my sister's chandelier at night. I thought the lighting was pretty, so we took some photos. And then this is just a little story that didn't have a home, so it ended up here on another flippy flappy about my sister's dogs and winning them over. And then we have Patrick's family. We of course couldn't go home without seeing Patrick's family, so here are some photos of that experience. It was the first time we got to meet his niece, and she's adorable, so that was fun. This is his brother and his sister, his dad and his sister's husband. So I made this little layout for that. And then lastly is the layout of us coming home. Of course, we took an overnight flight, and you know, at this point in the vacation, you are done. So I don't have a lot of photos like I did when we were leaving, because you know, the excitement has worn off. You're just ready to be home. So I have a photo of the plane window, out the plane window, because it kind of mirrors the initial opening layout. And then I have a photo of us in the plane. Since it was an overnight flight, we were very tired, and then we got all the way to Knoxville and got turned back around to Charlotte because of clouds. So our plane and our trip home was delayed, and this was after they told us we were going back, and we were miserable. So what I did here is I just cut a hole in the page protector and tied this tag on with the story, and this home is where the heart is. And that is it. So I hope you enjoyed this whole album. I hope you enjoyed this flip through, and that you watched and enjoyed the process videos as well, and you got some inspiration out of this. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. And if you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci M. Reed. All right, thank you.